Good afternoon, everybody. Making sure we're connected here. Hello, Victoria. How are you doing? Just going to move this over a little bit. I just got the Tim Holtz pencils, watercolor pencils. Do you guys have them? Sorry, there's banging because I'm great, Jennifer. My daughter has a friend over, so. And I'm in my basement. I am very excited that I found a spot that kind of works with my light, and I can actually be in my craft space rather than carrying everything upstairs. So if I forget something or, I need something extra, I can grab it rather than dragging everything up and down. I love them, Victoria. You have 2 and 3, but haven't used them yet. Hello, Sandy. You are definitely going to want to pull them out and play with them. Yeah, dedicated space. So nice. And I do share my space with like a kid's kind of play area, but I am very fortunate that I do have a space that I can craft in and everything's fairly organized. So, that makes it so much easier to create. Hello, Lindsay. You're loving the extra week of holidays. So nice. 2 live crafting sessions. I know. I was live with Craft and Kimmy on Monday. So that was fun over on the Crafting Kimmy Crafty Friends page. And that's there if you want to go watch it. We had some fun crafting. Today, I pulled out, hey Jenny, so I've got the crayon or the pencils, which I absolutely love. I found a whole bunch of videos that I'm creating a playlist, and I think YouTube is such a great resource for people who've used the product, and of course Tim always does an amazing demo. Hello Julie, hello Betty. And so there's so many things you can do with them. And we won't be able to get into all of them today, but I thought next week maybe we'll do more of a what can we do with them. But we will touch on them. We'll use them today. And I think that I'll show you a couple things that I did with them. I think that you'll really love them if there's something that you feel like you want to get into. Hello, Connie. So there's 3 different sets of them, and we're going to look at the new kit as well. I'll show you that in a second. Let me just grab the cover, then I can turn them over, and I can tell you kind of which set is which. So these are all in the shop right now. They sold out so quickly, and then Sandy's got them back in and restocked. So this is set number 1, and you can see the colors on there. Love the colors. So you've got all the same colors that you know with the Distress line, if you're familiar with those colors and how you like to use them together. And I really love the amount of pigment that they lay down. So that's your colors for set 1. And I like the little tin that they have. Then this one, okay, here's set 2. So you've got a rainbow of colors in each set. And then you've got set 3. And I couldn't decide which ones. I kind of went back and forth. Which ones do I want? And I just decided I needed them all. But I know that I'm going to use them. And I actually watched, it's been a couple months that they've been out, and I I do make sure that when I get stuff, I'm going to use it. So I've watched lots of videos, and there was one last video in particular that it was the girl who was doing it uses it in her Bible journaling, and she actually went through so many different techniques. And so I thought, okay, I'm happy that they do all of those fun things, and I'm okay with making that purchase and knowing that I'm definitely going to use them. And this is a lot of pigment. So the whole thing is pigment. Lindsay, they're on your wish list. Well, and they can be on there. They're not going away. So, if you feel like you want to put these on a wish list for a birthday or some holiday or some event that you can tell somebody, hey, I'd really like these, then they can be on there. And, decide, watching how people use them is the best way to do it, because then you may say, no, I don't need them. I don't know that you'd ever say that, but, or you can say, yeah, I would really use them, because I think you should only buy stuff that you use anyways. So we've got the distressed crayons that we're going to play with today. And we're going to make this cute card. Victoria agrees, need them all. And we've got, Victoria, Sandy's got your deck plank folder, and ooh, fun. That would be very fun to work with. So I'm using this new Altenew folder. This is called Daisy Tiles, and it is so cute. And I think that you could use this for so many things. So you'll see when we kind of look at the Lunar paste, my thoughts on this, but I thought it looks really cute even with this Valentine's card. So it's got a little floral, but I think this could also look almost like a snowflake. And then with this round circle, it almost looks like a mosaic or a quilt. So I think this is one that I would definitely get a lot of use out of as well. We're going to look at these new Lunar pastes that are in the shop. So this is Silver Lining and Gold Rush. Of course, we love the Lunar pastes. And that's a look at that goodness. So I'm going to show you a little demo with these today. How was your Christmas, everybody? I had such a great Christmas. Look at that. So nice. Fairly relaxed. We did Boxing Day at my oldest daughter's house. She made turkey dinner, her and her husband, and we got to relax, visit with family. Look at the shine on this. So Lunar pastes look amazing on light or dark cardstocks. So pretty. This was just applied with a palette knife. Isn't that gorgeous? And then I really just played around here with putting them over the embossing. So we'll look at that after. Let's see, we're going to use this Lawn Fawn, what's it called here? Giant Outlined Love Ya. I really like these outlined dies that they have. So they have some for Christmas, and you can insert into what it cuts out your colors. A little extra piece there. And you can cut out the letters. So here we're going to use some of that Lunar paste, and we're going to cut out the inside. But what's nice is that if you've got two different ones that you cut out, you can then mix and match and put these letters inside. So this outside is something we're going to do with the pencils. I keep wanting to call them crayons. With the watercolor pencils. And then we're going to die cut it out. And we have the Lawn Fawn So Damn Much. So hilarious. I'm definitely going to give this to my daughter who's 11, because I think she will just think that is so hilarious. Um, so this is a look. We're going to color these little guys with the watercolor pencils and have a look at that. So two different techniques. We've got some splattering on the back, another technique that you can do with them. And set those aside. I'm going to show you the kit and a couple more new things, and then we'll get into crafting. So we've got Simple Stories, Simple Vintage Winter Woods. This is beautiful. This is the January kit, and Sandy has posted on the website that this is the last month of Kit Club. So just, for various reasons, but it's just posted there with the kit. You can read that if you're curious as to why. However, she is definitely going to still have kits available, but this way, it's difficult because manufacturers and things don't come in on time. This way you can just purchase a kit when it's available, and it's still going to be an amazing kit for you. But the January one is there. There's also some left of the, I think, September, October, November, December. So a few left of each of those. If you're looking for some kits to have in your stash, they're great to take if you're going to crops or any kind of, if you just want to have a kit to pair with your photos and something that you can sit down and create with. They're awesome. So I'm going to show you everything that's in this kit. This Simple Vintage Winter Woods is so beautiful. Hello, Tamara. How are you doing? And Tamara, I got your card. Mike just grabbed it. I didn't even look at it yet. He grabbed it from the mail, and thank you so much. And Erica got Shaylin's as well. Sandy said we'll be posting the full line in the store shortly as well. Okay, so this line is you're going to be able to buy pieces individually. If you're still a Kit Club member, and this is the last month for that, then you can have a look at the add-ons and get those at a discount. The kit is beautiful, isn't it, Betty? And Irene is trying to save some pennies because there's so many wonderful things, right, Irene? All right, so here's a look at it. Beautiful colors. I love the soft blues and pinks and the browns and grays in there. Really nice. So you're going to get 12 of the papers, and we'll just run through. I love a wood paper, and I tend to save mine because when I'm taking a photograph, I usually use a wood paper background, and this is really nice, but I love using it on my scrapbook pages too. And then the back of this one is a beautiful floral. It's black and white, so you could color this. You could totally use the Distress pencils, the watercolor pencils on there. That would look amazing. Let's see. I need to move everything over. How is it that everything just spreads out so fast? Okay, this is the sticker sheet. We'll look at that after. We'll look at the papers first. This is really a vintage, that vintage feel to this collection. So look how pretty that is. Those little images of the winter families. And then on the back, you have that really pretty pink and white stripe, and it's got the distressed areas. Then we have, this is called Snow Day. And I love these background pages that you can just add your photos to. You could mat your photos, add them here, add a title, and then you have a completed page that you can just put in your album. I love having those because they've added this whole element here that looks like it's layered, but it's printed on. Then on the back, you have a really pretty light blue with a little bit of soft tone on tone elements there. This one here is called All That Glistens. Very pretty, almost a sage color. The SCT issues. Oh, okay. I must have missed that. Sorry, Irene. Irene was talking about the scrapbook and cards issues. And I'm not sure if you had posted that here. I think I might have missed that comment. And we've got the snowflakes in there, very beautiful. And then on this side, we've got that beautiful, it's like there's text in here, there's distressed areas. That is so pretty. And then we have the Snuggle Up. I think that, I don't know which side I'm showing you, the A or the B, but anyway. This has that pretty bird in there with the winter elements and the pine cones and the pine branches. And then you've got those snowflakes in the back. And look at that plaid. I love plaids, and these colors are just beautiful. Then we have Frosty Friends. This is a really nice neutral, but with those elements in there. It looks like a mixed media page that, you know, someone may have created with jelly plate and stamping. I love that effect. And then you've got this really great wood background again. That's fun. Then we have Winter Magic. And this one here has your wood background, and then you have that bird. So all the elements are kind of, you're pulling them in, and we'll see when we look at the ephemera that and the stickers that these are in those as well. And then you've got this beautiful text just kind of peeking out from the back. And isn't that beautiful? Yeah, you weren't sure about it. Sometimes it's hard to know until you see the individual pages, right? But I know I am loving birds right now. And I think that, Victoria, did you get those honeybee birds? You could totally coordinate them with this line. This one is Winter Blues. Sandy, Irene said something about, okay, you've got that, the issues. And you've got this polka dot. I think polka dots are always awesome, as well as stripes. Yeah. Wouldn't that look pretty with the birds in these colors and then with this paper? That is really nice. Love that stripe. You can never go wrong if you're adding a polka dot and a stripe to your layout. That's coordinating with colors. Here we've got a little chili. So again, we've got a blue jay on this one. Very pretty. And then those branches, and then a very pretty pink with like a diamond pattern in there. And we've got the journal elements. I always love these. These are my favorite of the pages, although these like gorgeous papers, but I always love the cut apart pages and the images that they have on them, because I think they're so useful. This one you could cut up into your journaling pieces and add those onto your pages or in pockets if you're making pockets. I love that they're always doing a different library card. Do you remember going to the library? We had a bookmobile in our community, and we used to have these in the back, and we'd go, I don't even know how often it came, like once a week or once a month or something, and we'd get the books and your name would be in there. Okay, Irene said that she'd love to get the SCT magazines, but it would be too much for shipping. Shipping is, yes, very crazy. Very. Aren't those nice? And then you can go in and you can cut out individual elements of any of these. And then on the back, there's always beautiful images and designs. So you've got really cute little vintage Santa and the sledding and the snowflakes. This one here is the 3x4 elements. And these are awesome if you're doing the larger pocket pages, which I'm not sure, do you guys do those? I still do them. But I also incorporate these into the flip books and the snap books and those little pockets. So here, those are all great. And again, cut out anything that you like. This is great. You can just use these on your pages. You don't have to put them in pockets either. And there's the blue background with the white snowflakes. And here we have the 4x4 elements. 4x4. When you cut them apart, did I show you the back of this? Yes, I think so. I showed you the snowflakes. And then we have the deer antlers on the back with the really nice muted brown tone. So cute. And then here we've got the 4x6. Again, these images are ones that you're going to see throughout the collection, and a really pretty dotted. So if you feel like you might not use some of these, I usually cut them up, and then sometimes I will use the back of it. If I decide the front of it might not be one that I would use the back. $30 to send a 12x12 page in a pizza box. That is just ridiculous, Irene. I don't know. It's almost getting, it'll be cheaper to send things by FedEx or UPS. This is the 12x12 sticker sheet. That's awesome. Now I do know if you want to go through the Canada Post website and sign yourself up as your own little business, you will get a little bit of a discount, so that might help. But there's all these cute images. I love these hearts. They actually look dimensional. And I love that they always put these little paint chips in with the words, and then I like the tickets and those sentiments. So those are the papers in the sticker sheet. Then you're going to get half of the chipboard frames, and then in the add-ons is where you could add on the rest. So there's 6 chipboard frames, and you would get randomly 3 of them. So I just pulled out 3, but they're absolutely gorgeous. I'll show you them all. If you're buying them just separately in the store, this is what will be in the package. And then you'll get half in your kit. So you've got Hello Winter with the wood. They've all got that kind of distressed wood or distressed paper look. Snow Day. Got this one with that beautiful bird. And they all have those printed elements that look like they're layered. This one has that little bingo card. And then we've got Winter Wonderful. Beautiful. Makes winter seem a lot more fun. And then we've got Favorite Memory. And these are so fabulous for even those pages that, like we said, you could just, I can find it now. I think it was at the beginning. The one where you don't even have to do anything to that page, and you could just add your photos, something like that. Oh yeah, this one here. You put your photo in and put that on and the title, and that's how easy it is. And then we have the bits and pieces. So I won't take them all out, but I'll show you. There's a lot in here. Thanks, Rosie. Rosie is just added in the January kit. You signed up for Canada Post. That's good, Irene, because you can get your little card and then take that with you. And you've got all kinds of fun little ephemera pieces that you can then layer. So pretty. And it is very vintage, Betty. Then we've got the chipboard stickers and all those fun images. I love combining the chipboard with the ephemera, and you can always use foam dots to pop these up so you have lots of different textures and layers. And then we have the foam stickers. So you've got two 6x12 sides of these stickers. Like you've got the birds. I love the snowflake wishes. I love using these for titles. This is so cute with the little rosette look to it. And all these fun snowflakes. I love that they've done the snowflakes in brown too. They're very pretty. And then this looks like it's burlap. And then you're going to get half of the package of enamel dots. So you'll get it like that. And again, in the add-ons is where you can pick up the rest of that enamel dot pack if you want to add it on and have the full pack. And then this is, so those things are going to be in the store shortly. These are the add-ons that are in the store if you're a Kit Club member right now. And otherwise you can find them in the shop as soon as they are loaded. So these are elements that coordinate with that kit. So we've got the Winter Woods paper, and it has this really great distressed look to it. It looks like old paper. You can see a look at the back of one of those. Isn't that pretty? Then we have the Winter Snow stencil. It's a 6x8 stencil. It's pretty big. You've got the different sizes of snowflakes. Then we have the washi tape. So look at this washi. You've got both of those beautiful birds. And then you've got the little pink snowflake washi with the black images. The wood, awesome. That stripe, and then the little images from the winter activities. Those are all very cute. We've got the page pieces. And so with the page pieces, it's almost like you get a collection of pieces that you can then just sit down and add them to your page. So they're going to coordinate. You've got a title in there. They even give you an idea for using it on the back, but you could use this any way you like. And they're priced very reasonably. And then we have the layered stickers. Look at these layers. It's just incredible. They've got the foam in between and lots of dimension. Then we have the decorative brads, which I always like, and they are adhesive, so you don't have to try to get those prongs through. That seemed quite dangerous. And you've got a selection of chipboard stickers as well. I like that these ones have the little images in, and then you get some that are just colored as well. These ones are the woodland bits, so the other bits and pieces are in the kit, and then these ones have these, the snowflake and the birds and the deer. And then we've got the chipboard clusters, which are very fun. So here's a look at the clusters. We've got the large, they're almost like a doily type image in the back. And then they've got the layers printed on them. So they're a really nice big focal image. And then they've also included all these little chipboard images. These are so cute. I love the little clips. And those hearts that look like fabric are very cool. And then we have the 6x8 paper pad. So all these papers that were in that paper that we just went through. I won't open it up right now, but those are going to be in here in a 6x8 format, so sized a little bit smaller. They've always got some of the 3x4 cards that you can cut apart, and there's 24 double-sided sheets. And then we've got the sticker book, which is always fabulous. Look at these birds. Amazing. Here it shows you on the back everything that's included. So you've got the full page of like the birds. Then you've got words, sentiments, snowflakes, labels, tabs, border stickers. Like, you get so much in this. More, a smaller alpha. And then these really pretty scripty sentiments as well, and then you get these images. And the stamp set is incredible and would just make beautiful mixed media elements. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, I think this would be so beautiful with these pencils. Isn't that pretty? Because you can actually color on the stamps. So we'll put that away. I think, what else did I have to show you? Oh, just a couple more things here and then we'll get to crafting. We've got new in the shop, translucent pearl embossing powder. If Rosie's still there, she may have used this. Hello, Monica. We've got pure white crisp embossing powder. I think a really great white fine detail embossing powder is something that everyone should have in their stash. We've got some new little embellishments from Studio Katia. So these ones are champagne glitz discs, they're called, and they look very flat. So they're going to stay very flat. Great for shakers and great if you wanted to have something that was not a lot of dimension either. They look super pretty. Let's see here. Rosario, you can definitely pick up in Northwest Calgary. There's also some other Altenew items that we've just got in the shop, so be sure to look for those. New colors of Studio Katia wand color tip. I'll pull mine out and show you what I have. This one here is the Vintage Sparkle Crystals. And Rosario, if you want to have more information about that pickup, you can just email Sandy, S-A-N-D-Y, at scrapshotz.com. That's super pretty. Then we've got the tiny sparks. These are like those little shine marks. I love those. See how sparkly? And they're an iridescent color. And then we have the sugar glitz discs. These are super, super pretty. And we've also got here, I showed you the Daisy Tiles embossing powder. This one is Modern Lines. This reminds me of like a wood effect. Very cool. You could definitely make some very cool effects. And 3D embossing folders are just give you such a great dimension. And Rosie has just linked the new products. We also, of course, have the Lawn Fawn, the ones we're going to use today. And then this one is Simply Celebrate Hearts. So you've got this line of hearts, and then you've got all these different sentiments, and you've got the little faces and the die that comes with this. Sandy says she also got in the folk die that Rosie used in the Altenew class that was sold out. Okay, so if you guys were interested in looking at that or seeing what that was about, you can look in the shop. So anything that's new is going to be under the January 1st category, or you can search by saying Altenew. So I did these with the watercolor pencils, and I actually stamped with them. And these ones I colored in. The second generation I stamped off onto a regular piece of paper. This one is Vicki Boutin foundations paper because it works nicely like a really smooth watercolor paper almost. And aren't these cute? So I'll definitely need to do some things with these, but that was stamped with various colors of these pencils, which is another really great way that you can use them. Let's see, I think that's it for new. Check in the shop for anything else that may have come in the last day or two. And then that January, the January category, it will keep filling up with new January things. If you aren't a newsletter subscriber as well, you can always go to the blog, the Scrap Shotz blog, and right on the top right corner, you can enter your information to be a newsletter subscriber. And then there's always information about what any lives, any particular sales, anything that's happening. So that's always fun. The hearts, they are cute, hey? Victoria's shopping now. There's some fun things. All right, so let's get to making our card. And then we'll look at that Lunar paste. Hello, Tammy. How are you doing? We've got a card base here. We are going to use the Lunar paste for this. Let's first, you know what we're going to do first is we are going to use our pencils to make a background, and then that can kind of dry while we're doing the other things. I am great. I had a nice little break over Christmas, New Year's, and so it's great to be back crafting with you guys again. Do need a drink of water. So I just played with a whole bunch of stuff yesterday, and hopefully I'll remember what I did. Lindsay said she's been working on her inspired by card. Let's see. Okay. Well, this live seems to be going long, so you may get it done. What are you using for your card? What supplies, Lindsay? So I'm going to make a background because what we're going to do is cut out this border using the outlined Love Ya. So I'm just taking various pinks and reds, and I'm going to just kind of scribble them on. Now this is Vicki Boutin Foundations paper, so you can use watercolor paper. I'm just using kind of the edge. And because we're die cutting, we don't need to have it, perfect, a perfect background. But I think the best way to use anything new is just to get it out. I've got a little bit of purple on this crayon because I used it with a little bit of purple. So you can wet these and use them wet. Right now for my first layer, I'm just laying them on dry. And then I'm going to use my paintbrush to kind of move everything around. So if you didn't have watercolor paper, or you don't have foundations paper, you could also add a little bit of gesso to your cardstock, and it just helps. Because if you had regular cardstock and scribbled on it, it's just not going to move around as much as if you have something that has that coat or has a watercolor effect. Vicki Boutin's foundations paper on the top of it, there's almost like a gessoed coat, and so that's why mediums move around so nicely. So if you're cutting it, I try to make note of what is the top. It's a pretty great paper whichever side you're using anyways, but everything will move around a lot better if you keep if you use that top side. So I just have a water brush. You could use some paint, just a paintbrush and some water. And all I'm doing is mixing it around. Now what I do need is I just need a cloth, or I'll just grab this tissue. So I want to have this because I do want different areas to show different colors. And if I just went over the whole area, then it would blend everything. And I just don't want it to blend everything. And I'm just squeezing a little bit of water out. So once I blend a little bit of color, I'm just dabbing that off so that I can mix various areas of the color. And we can go back and we can add more color in. And then if you feel like your brush is dry, you can just kind of squeeze it without adding a whole bunch of water. So some water brushes, you'll get more water leaking out. And then other ones, you can control it a little bit better. So you just have to play around. If you feel like your water brush, you have a hard time controlling the water, then you can always just empty the water out and use it like a regular paintbrush with just a little container of water. So I actually like this. This is a little bit different than how my other one was. My other one was a little bit more pink. I feel like I want a little bit more color right in there. The watercolor pencils, Rosario, are the Distress watercolor pencils, the Tim Holtz. Just going to put this cover on so I can turn it over. So there's 3 different sets, and it's Distress watercolor pencils. And these are back in stock now, if you're looking for them. They are beautiful. So if you're familiar with the Distress line, these colors are all in the Distress line. So I'm thinking I might even pull like just a little bit of purple, this color here. And the colors are on the side. This one's shaded lilac. So what you can also do is dip them in a little bit of water, or if you wanted to spray a little bit of water on the side, then you can just dip them in it and you get a really nice pigmented color. And then I don't worry about wiping that off or anything. And then I can go in and just spread it around. And I can do the same thing down here and just get so just playing with these really shows you how you like to use them. So I think that looks good. Now what I'm going to do is add a little bit of stenciling. So these are so cool. They're unbelievably cool. So like I said, you can color on your stamps and then stamp them. And essentially I'm making this stencil into a bit of a stamp. So I'm going to just set that. You might give it a little shot. It doesn't have to be really dry, but I'll just give it a little bit. Lindsay, you have quite the mismatch of items. I love doing that. I love seeing what someone's used and then pull out what you have to use. Yeah, the watercolor background is super quick. So I'm going to use a few different colors, and what I'm going to do is I want to get this wet. Then I'm just tracing over, and there's lots of pigment. And actually, I'm not even going to individually trace. I'm just going to do this. I could even like put a piece. This is just regular cardstock. And this is just playing around. I don't know whether this will do anything or not. But you can see it better anyways, like this. So I'm just wetting, and then the pigment really transfers nicely. Let's see, let's use this red. This one here is Barn Door. And even if you get a little bit of that color on, you can easily just, dab it off, or, continue to color with it, and any of the other color will come off. But you can see how lovely they just transfer the color. Then I love this picked raspberry. So you can also sharpen these, and I'll show you the sharpener. It's in the store. And the nice thing about it, these are woodless, so you have a full, everything here is pigment. So when you sharpen them, I've actually seen people get like a little half pan set, or I think that there's a Tim Holtz. What's it called? It's sold out right now, but it's the little watercolor or alcohol ink. Has the individual things, so they'll put the shavings in and make their own little watercolor palette. So that even looks cool. Now that's regular cardstock, and I'll kind of show you how it doesn't really move around. So I want, even though we put this on wet, let's move that over a little bit. I want to get this a little, just make sure that it has a nice amount of wetness. Then I'm just going to put it right onto my background. And just press it down. And look how lovely that looks. Isn't that pretty? This is the Tim Holtz, I think it's called Target. It's one of the newer stencils from Stampers Anonymous. And so then you've got another layer over top. And then you can just take any scrap paper and you can just rub anything off on your scrap paper. And you might want to use this as some kind of background after. You might want to take this and just ink blend over it. And like I said, because this isn't watercolor, you get a tiny bit of color moving, but really you wouldn't color on this in order to get that watercolor effect, but it certainly has a really great effect just as a background piece. You could jelly print on that. And then to clean up, it's just water. We'll just take this rag, because Distress cleans so nicely just by using water. Or if you felt like it was really messy, you could use a little bit of soap and water, but it's super easy. So then we have our piece, and we'll set that aside for a minute and let that dry. So we may as well continue on with our coloring. Thanks, Irene. The sharpener is awesome. So where did I put the sharpener? So this one here is the Prismacolor sharpener. I've got pencil sharpenings in it right now, so let me just dump those out. And if you had something, a little spot that you particularly wanted to keep the sharpenings, then you could just sharpen them and keep them on in that spot if you were wanting to do that. There's a couple different sizes of sharpening in here, and you can see that I'm just getting, they sharpen really easily, and this would be what you would turn into watercolor. And then you can sharpen it as much as you want. So just to give you an idea, or you could do all your sharpenings in this and then make your own little, I need to figure out how to put that back together after. Make your own colors. I'm totally getting distracted, but I just thought I'd kind of show you how you can turn this into paint. Just from sharpening that tiny amount, look at all of that. So if you had this in a little palette is the word I was looking for earlier. Even if this dried, you can still go back to it and reactivate it. So this would be in your little palette. You could make a note of what color you had where, and then every time you wanted to watercolor, you could just grab this if you had some small areas that you wanted to watercolor. Let me see here. I'm just going to grab a piece of, what do I have? Here's just a piece of foundations paper. So if I was coloring in something, and the color is so bright, right? Like it's, I'm just putting it on right now, but you can color in images, paint, whatever you want. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually get a palette that I can put each of those colors in, and then just have that little palette too. So it's just another way to use it. And of course, if you just wanted to make a really pretty background, you could do that. Isn't that pretty? Okay, we're going to set that aside, and we'll just wipe this up for now. And then I'm just squeezing my water brush because I did have quite a lot of red in there. And just to get that out of my brush. Actually, I have some water here. I'm just going to rinse it off. But I'm quite impressed at the amount of pigment that's in there. So let's color our little guys. And I'll show you a couple different ways that you can color. So you could either, now I've stamped this on the Vicki Boutin Foundations paper. That's really nice and smooth. I'm just going to try and zoom in. Sometimes my camera doesn't really want to. You might resort to keeping pencil shavings. I know, right? You got to draw the line somewhere, right, Lindsay? However, if you had a dedicated palette, then, it wouldn't seem... Wendy, hi Wendy, the sharpener, Sandy's got this one in the shop. So if you look up pencil sharpener, I think this is the only one that will pop up, and it's in the Scrap Shot store. It's actually quite neat. The two holes that it has are both for the same size pencil, or I use them with my colored pencils, with any kind of pencils that I have, and it works really great. This side gives you a long, sharp point, like a long point, and then this one gives you a fatter, shorter point. So I actually like that element. And then, oh, there it is. You just pop it on. So for coloring, because these guys are a little bit bigger, we can just go in and we can dry color the same way that we did. And then go over it with our water brush. I just went very lightly. And that just blends out your color. So that kind of puts down a first layer. You can also wet your crayon to get, I keep calling it a crayon, but it's a pencil. You can wet your pencil and have that wet effect to add more pigment. So we've got a couple different color values just by adding the pigment a different way, and then I'll use the brush to just pull that out. And it's spreading a little bit because if you're watercoloring and you don't let things dry that are beside each other, they're going to go into one another, but that's okay. I'm okay with this because they're both brown and I'm just showing you different ways to color them. But normally, so I've embossed this, and embossing helps keep the color in the areas. I'm just not being very careful. But if you're worried about that, then you would just color one area before you colored another. Now I've got a little bit of brown on his tooth. So watercoloring as well is quite forgiving. So I wanted to wipe that up because the brown went over his mouth. So all I did was wet that area again and then dab it, and the color came up. And it moves around pretty nicely. Now what we can also do is, no problem, Wendy. We can, Wendy, is your son still home? You can also pick up the color from the pencil just by rubbing your brush on it. And then we can add color a little bit darker to certain areas. And I always have, a paper towel or a tissue just to dab off anything extra. And then I can go in and just blend that out how I want. And watercoloring is fun. I find it very relaxing. And then I can just move that color around a little bit. And you don't have to have watercolor blended perfectly. And I will add a little bit of shading here. You can also dry this with a heat tool in between if you feel like you want to dry before you add another layer. But we've only used one color, and we've got one little guy that looks a little bit darker. Just very easy. I don't spend a lot of time on coloring. I just add some shading and some highlights. So that one was Vintage Photo. And then we have Walnut Stain in this one. He went back to work yesterday. Okay, just a second. I'm going to delete that last comment. I'm not sure that it was anybody who was a crafter. If so, sorry, but I don't think the comment was anything to do with the craft we're doing. Okay, so this is Walnut Stain, and I'm going to go in. I'm just wetting it, adding that color. just because I wanted his tail to be darker. You can also blend these colors too. So you could add a couple different colors right onto your background, just like we did there, or you could scribble off to the side. I haven't really tried that. I think maybe you'd have to wet it first and then add the color, or you might even need to do it on like maybe a sheet. All right, and we'll just blend that around. And really, that's all there is to these little guys. They're super quick. This is a really cute little set. There's a couple other Lawn Fawn sets there that I think may have sold out. If it's something you're looking for and Sandy can still get it from the distributor, then you can just ask her to see if she's going to be ordering that in. I'm going to add a little bit of pink for their cheeks. And I think I don't want the pink to spread. So what I'm going to do is just dry it a tiny bit. I don't want to melt that embossing powder that's on there, so I'm just, it dries pretty quick, but just to make sure that we don't have a whole lot of bleeding. So because this is just a little spot, I'm just going to get a little bit on my brush and add it right on there just to give them a little bit of rosy cheeks. Okay. And then the same with his nose. So we just need a little tiny bit of color and we can just add it like that. Would you be mine is going to come back in. Okay, that's good to know, Sandy. So this guy is super cute. We can grab a white gel pen, and after he dries, we'll just add a little bit of detail. And same for this. It's a smaller area, so we'll go back to walnut stain, and we'll just grab that with our paintbrush. And drop it right on there. You could use the vintage photo would work well with this as well. And then for I love the greens that they have in here. I actually hope that they come out with more of these now that I've just been using them because I really like them. So this one here is Rustic Wilderness. That's one of the newer colors. So you can also coordinate this with any of your Distress oxides, ink sprays. Isn't that pretty? I actually touched that before it was dry, so I'm just going to move that around. Okay, so there's our little pieces. We'll let those dry for a minute. Let's use that fun embossing folder. So this one is the Daisy Tiles, and if you have the Spellbinders machine and you have the universal set, let's go zoom back out again. Then if you look online and just look up Spellbinders Universal System, it has any of the main embossing folder companies. I got some pencil on me and I'll just wipe it off because it's distracting me. So any of the main companies, so Altenew, there's a whole bunch there. Spellbinders has a list of how the sandwich that you can use in order to emboss easily. So I have the Spellbinders machine, the Platinum 6, and then I have the universal plate system. And so it recommends with Altenew folders, this is this little shim, which is F, and then you use your platform base and this adapter plate. So you run that through. And sometimes I'll run through a scrap piece of paper, especially, if it was a paper that was, this is just white, regular 80-pound cardstock. But if it was a special piece of paper, then I would probably run through a scrap and just see. I found when I embossed the black paper that I have, it was just from my stash, and it was almost too thin when I tried to emboss it. It was cracking, so I actually took the shim out and I put two pieces together and it embossed two at once, and it seemed to be fine. And I sprayed it a little bit with water. So just playing around, especially with the 3D folders till you get an idea, is a good idea. The embossing folder you're using, you have no idea of the brand. You didn't keep the package. If you send me a picture of it, Lindsay, then I might be able to tell you. Or post it in the paper crafting group or something, someone will know. But I would try, if it's about the thickness of the 3D folder, then try that. If you don't have the universal plate system, sometimes you just need a couple shims of paper and kind of play around with what plates to use. So this is the result. This is just a plain piece of 80-pound cardstock, and it's amazing. Like, it's so beautiful. So that's embossed. And what we're going to do, I think I cut this the right size. Yeah. So we're going to add a few flicks of some pink. So let's see. Well, I can't remember if I used the picked raspberry. I think I might have. This is Kitsch Flamingo. So we'll try this, but this might be a little bit light. So all I'm doing is picking this up. I actually might get it a little more wet. It's a very pretty folder, isn't it? And so essentially I just have some of this pigment on my brush, and I'm going to move this stuff a little bit so I don't. Yeah, I think I need a little bit more. And I think maybe using it on the glass might be what I'm having the problem with. I'm just going to grab one of these. This is the Waffle Flower Media Mat. There we go. So this seems to allow you to scribble a little bit more. I just really want to get, or if you had those shavings, this would be perfect because you've got so much. I'm going to actually add a little bit of the picked raspberry. And I can just dip this into this water. And there we go. We just wanted some of these splatters, and they're in colors that we use, so it's going to match really nicely. And it'll dry nice and soft too. All right, so we can set that aside to dry. Isn't that pretty? Hello, Katie. How are you doing? How was your Christmas? All right, now we're going to take our giant outlined love ya, and we're going to go back to our paper. This feels pretty dry. I'm just going to give it a little quick shot. So if you had some backgrounds that you just sat down and played with, this would be a great way to just grab them and cut out some of these. So I'll put my plates back on my Spellbinders machine, and I'm just going to cut this out. Hopefully this isn't bumping the camera too much. I usually try to have my machine on a different table, but I have it on the same table today. Okay. So when you cut this out, you're going to have lots of fun pieces. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad, Katie. Hello, Mary Jane. Hello, Kathy. So the pieces, when I do this, the pieces that I want to save, first of all, I know that I'm going to use this main outside piece. And I want to save all these little, like the letters. I want to save the inside of the A, and you'll see why. But these letters and hearts, I'm saving because I can make the reverse of the card that we're making. So that's all I do first before I throw everything away, is just make sure I've got this piece. That's going to be our outline. And isn't that fun? Like, it's just such a fun piece. That's going to go on our background. We don't really need this. We want to save this O, and we want to save this piece. That's going to go in here, and this piece is going to go in the A. That's all we need for that. And then just need a couple more hearts. And all these extra little pieces that were around the outside, unless you wanted to keep them for piecing something, I don't worry about it. I just get rid of those. Because what we're going to do with this is we've got our black cardstock, and we're going to come in with our Lunar paste. So this is the new silver. And I need to find where I put my sponges. So how I like to apply this, to do this technique, is I like to actually have my sponge, we're going to just put this to the side, my sponge a little bit damp. Not super damp, but I just find that the Lunar paste moves around really nicely if it's a little bit damper. And then if your paste was down a little bit lower, you could just grab a palette knife, or you can just kind of get it onto the back, and then I'm just going to put it on the background so I don't have a great big glob. And then I'm just going to rub it on. So if you have thicker paste, it's going to be thicker. And let's see what time we're at. We're at, okay. We're almost done. So this is going to give you a nice look at this Lunar paste as well on dark. And if you put it on without it being, actually, I don't know why if I was just doing the edge, this is what I would do. But I'm going to show you a trick to kind of be thrifty with your paper and your supplies. So we're going to cover the whole thing. So you can add more, or if you wanted it a little bit lighter, you just add a little bit more water. And this doesn't have to be perfect either, because we're going to die cut this. And this is so fun to work with. So this goes beautifully through a stencil. If you have stencils that you want to use this with, you can definitely use a palette knife, but I love using just a damp sponge and pulling that over the stencil. I find that it dries really quickly. So this is our pretty background. We've just made this fun shimmery background. That will only take a minute to dry. So while we're looking at that, this was the silver here. We'll just kind of pause to look at this and then we'll finish our card. That was the gold. So the silver, just wanted to show you how I did this. I got some on my sponge. I'm actually going to get a little bit more just to make sure it's moving around really nicely. And I felt like this really created almost a pearlized effect on the paper. So you could do this just on regular paper, or you could pull it over your already embossed paper. If you did it before and then embossed it, you're going to get more coverage. And then if it's embossed first, it's going to mainly go on those raised areas. You can see how beautiful that is. And then we'll do the gold on the other side. And the same with, oh, before I put that away, the same with this black. Like, it's just beautiful. And I think you get a whole different effect whether you use it on dark or light, and whether you're completely covering something or you're creating almost a distressed look. So then, and this cleans up really nicely as well. Let me just wipe this off. And then your sponges, you can just throw them in some soapy water and give them a little wash, and they clean up really nicely. So I do like stuff that cleans up easily. I don't like to have to scrub anything. And we may as well, this is almost dry, and then we may as well just look at the gold, and then you can see that close up as well. So same idea. Just adding that to the sponge. Here it is on dark cardstock. And I have a little bit extra, I think, on my sponge. So, you know, I've got a little bit extra on the background. If you pressed harder, you're going to get more coverage. And I love how this has a distressed look. You could put this over even like a wood grain would be very cool. Here it's over the white. I think this was a really good addition to his line. There are a whole bunch more of the Lunar paste in the shop. Look how pretty that is. And if you just wanted to completely cover a background and then emboss it, then it looks like you have a gold piece of paper, so like a specialty piece of cardstock. Here, I'll show you what I did on this one. So here I used a little bit of the Speckled Egg Distress ink, and I went over the silver, and I felt like it looked like a really nice, you could use it for a winter background, and it just seems to really highlight that silver. And just add a little bit of blue. You could go with a darker blue, but I felt like the lighter just added a little bit of that wintry shimmer. And then for the gold, I grabbed the black soot. But again, I think like vintage photo could look fun over it. You could try different color combinations. And it just added an even more distressed look. So you get a totally different look. So here I added a little bit extra gold to the background and then the black, but you can definitely get lots of different effects with that lunar paste. Okay, so let's get back to cutting or finishing our card. I hear no noise from the kids, so I think they've either gone outside, my husband is upstairs though, or they're playing video games maybe. So this is going to be what I'm going to layer this on, but I figured I may as well use the inside of this. So that's why I covered the whole thing. And I think that's dry. I'm just going to put it right in like this, and that's how I'm going to cut it. And it's kind of just a cheat way of getting use out of every bit of your cardstock. So what's everybody looking forward to this year? Do you have any crafty goals? Any specific goals? I think I'm trying to think about things that I really want to do. I definitely want to do more scrapbooking and kind of set aside some times that I'm just working on my scrapbooking. And I definitely want to get some more cards sent out this year. I have lots of cards, and I figure I may as well get them sent out. Send them out and make someone else's day. So those are two of my goals. Just pop all those little pieces out. This is the Spellbinders tool in one if you don't have something like this. And oops, it is awesome. Okay, so again, we have, this is how we would create the reverse. We've got this beautiful, it looks like it's, pewter or something. And what we want to keep now is we want to keep the inside of these letters. So we're going to set this aside, and then we'll have something that we can make a second card with using those supplies. Betty says, let's see here. You made a lot of Christmas cards and you need to clean up before starting other projects. I love cleaning up before starting other projects. I find that if I have a clean space, I'm definitely ready to start crafting. And if I have a big mess and I don't know where everything is, then it just seems harder to create. So I just want to pull these out, and then I can get rid of all the rest of this stuff. And oh, I need the little A, little middle to the A. Okay, so we've got our border, and once you put that on, you'll never even know that we cut out that background piece from that. I have this fun glue topper that Lorraine, my friend Lorraine, sent to me, which was very sweet of her, and it works very lovely. Okay, so we're just going to glue these down now. I used to always find when my kids were small too, if I cleaned up their toys, then they totally were interested in getting them out and playing with them. Whereas if the toys were all over the place, it just seemed like it was too much. Like they couldn't focus on what they wanted to do. So I knew as soon as I cleaned everything up and it was all put away, then that was when it was exciting for them to get everything back out. I love these little splatters, how they turned out. And I've got a heart that I traced onto pattern paper and cut out so that it would just fit exactly behind there. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this right down. Just using this art glitter glue. You could also maybe add an adhesive sheet on the back before you die cut if you wanted to make it into a sticker. I find this is pretty quick though. Or if you had a Xyron or something like that, or the sticky specks, those would work too. And then we'll glue this on. I just felt like I wanted a little bit of a pattern in the background to go in between my letters. So then we're just placing the letters on. Oh yes, and I wanted to also show you my Studio Cadia wand. It's great for little pieces as well, but Sandy said she got some new tips, so you can buy replacement tips. This is almost like a waxy, it's pretty hard, but it does unscrew and you can replace it. So if you feel like you want a different color, a fun little color, or you need to replace it, then they are in the shop now, along with those fun little new little crystals that we looked at. And I'm just placing these in, fitting them. They go in really easily. I really, really like the look of that Lunar paste on the black. So you could have had it on the white as well and have a really nice pearly finish. Add the Y. And I think now that I'm looking at this that I may have lost the exclamation mark. We'll see if I can see it. If not, I have an idea. Okay, so I'm not seeing it specifically. I'll do the other pieces that need to be done first, and then we'll cut that. Because I also wanted to show you how we could do the little hearts. Okay. This is good for picking up little pieces of paper as well as embellishments. That actually works really nicely. And then you've got this little kind of pokey area. Smaller ones, it's kind of helpful to have a pair of tweezers or the pickup wand. Okay, so I'm not seeing the exclamation mark. See, Sandy started to say something, but I don't think it posted the whole thing. Let's see here. So that's going to go here. I also have the little piece that we cut out, and what I decided that I wanted is to have a little bit of purple for the hearts. So I'm going to go right over this watercolor background and just really quickly add a little bit of purple. So this is fun for just adding areas to be whatever color that you specifically want. I don't know if this is going to fit in the area I want, but we'll see. I do want this dry before I try to die cut it, so that's why I'm going to give it a quick little dry. And then we're just going to use our scissors . I know when I start losing everything that it's probably time to be over. Okay, scissors. So I'm placing this on so that I can cut out my elements. And I'm going to put this upside down and hope that it cuts like this, just so I can see. I want to cut out that exclamation mark. I want to cut out this little heart. And we'll see. We will hope that this works. Probably should have taped it, but we're going to go slow. Do you guys cut upside down, or do you find that you, and I see already that it moved, so I am going to have to put a little bit of tape on this. Sorry guys, bear with me for a minute. Just add a little bit of tape. Once you had all your pieces cut out, and I think that if I did a whole other, maybe a purple background, or cut a whole background out of like white glitter paper would be fun too, then you'd have another background to mix and match. And you could make a whole bunch of cards at once after you had everything cut out. So we've got our little piece, our exclamation mark. We've got our cute little purple heart. And because I taped that from the back, it actually cut through the tape. So we'll just pull that off. And that's why too, I think that it's nice, especially if you're making a few different ones or a few of something that are the same, that you do kind of an assembly line. So you have your backgrounds, you have all your lunar pastes done. But of course, we were doing all the steps today, but I love being able to color with the crayons and just choose the colors that I want. We'll just add a little bit of glue in there. And one more heart if we know where that went. We may not know, and it may be somewhere where I'm looking right at it. Honestly. Okay, we've got 3 heart outlines. We've got 2 hearts. Here it is, way over here. We've got our glue on, so let's stick this and we'll just glue everything down. Isn't that cute? You're working on taxes. Oh, yuck. Trying to get the bits in other colors. Yes, I think, I know. And then that as soon as you glue it on, you recut it, you find it. Like, I know I'm going to see the rest of that exclamation mark. So even though this is a little bit bumpy, it will stick. This glue is really great, but you could add a little bit of double stick tape just to kind of hold it, or you could set something on there for a minute if you felt like you needed a little bit extra pressure to hold it. Got tape and glue on me. And then we've got these little beavers. We can add a little bit of our white gel pen. And just give them some little details, some little dots on their cheeks. Where did I put? Here we go. We've got some foam dots. And then on my other card, I didn't cut these cattails, but I thought they were so cute that they would probably just look good right behind them. I never see cattails anymore, but I remember as a kid always seeing them. Thanks, Betty. I love adding all these little details. And then I would probably even add some sequins or something else like that after. Also, the little sentiment that comes with that stamp set, you could totally, I would probably put that in there as well. And there you go. Very cute. You could totally use this for Valentine's Day, but you could just send it to somebody to let them know you're thinking of them. So maybe next week, I'll have a bunch of different ideas for using those distress pencils, watercolor pencils. Um, so if you have them, you might want to grab them and some watercolor paper, and we'll just kind of play with those next week and show you a few different ideas, more so than we even did today. Thanks, Jenny. Yeah, this was super fun. Thank you guys for hanging out. There's a new challenge this month. It's a tic-tac-toe challenge. So if you haven't checked out the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group, head over there. Virginia has an amazing card that she created for it. And we put that in the album, and it has the banner in the group. And there's 9 different prompts, and all you need to do is just choose 3 of them and start creating and upload your project to the album in the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group. And then at the end of the month, we choose a winner for a $25 gift card to Scrap Shotz. Thank you, Lindsay, and thank you always for playing along and for being so sweet. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. It was really great being back, and I hope you're having a wonderful New Year. So Happy New Year, and we will talk to you next week. Bye.